I see liminal space as a sort of threshold between one place and another. I think in that liminal space, we can engage in paradox, and I think that's really important. Something being and not being, and it's this, but it's also that. I think we often try to exist within these binaries, and I found that when I can see something as paradoxical and then enter a liminal space where this seems more natural somehow, it allows me to become more flexible and malleable. It's pushing our own perceptions, it's pushing my own way to hear what's being said. It's like this moment where you just try to have a small glimpse of how somebody else, something else is interpreting and perceiving the world. I think when there's a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty, people tend to refine aspects of themselves that otherwise they wouldn't have to address. There's a lot of expansion that happens in our potential of who we become and how we communicate, and I think liminal space is a great catalyst for those things. All of us, different cultures, different people, like just your friends, they all hold a certain perspective on how all of this, our engagement with everything that we are, everyone holds a little piece of information. And when you exchange in story, like you learn something, right? You learn something from the way that someone else feels and interprets and exists in the world. And so I think for me, I have to have this something that I need to learn. There's like a curiosity, there's like the sense of mystery that draws you in and sort of promises a little sprinkling of more understanding. I think these stories have this sort of, I don't know, they have their own agency somehow, and they draw you in. It's like a type of magic, right? It's like pulling you in. I'm really interested in the way that we interpret this thing that I'm talking about, this essence of life. So whether that's a certain specific language, ritual, a way of being with the natural world, whether it's a certain way of producing a type of art or a type of food, or even just a way that we engage with family and friends. I think that culturally we sort of have these beautiful distinctions that go from an individual interpretation to like familial to community and greater into culture. So you get these sort of meta levels of interpretation. And so when there's these opportunities to maybe engage with different cultures, I find that extremely intriguing. I think the process for me there is never that I'm going and telling a story about something else. Again, I think it has a certain agency, and so it's sort of an agreement to go engage in a storytelling practice, which is this idea of someone's giving you something, you're listening, and then you're interpreting, and then it's bouncing back, and it's like this give and take, tell and listen, interpret and just being. And that's really why I call it storytelling and not journalism or not documentaries and things like this. I think it's a practice where I'll engage in an act of this, and what comes out of it is the product of everybody. There's the lens of the storyteller, the lens of those giving, and I often think the one translating in another way out becomes storyteller. So this act is paradoxical. It's like constantly, who's actually the storyteller, right? and I think that's how it's always been, right? I think when you think back to these really old traditions, they would always say like, oh, there's no storyteller without the audience because the audience elicits the story. And I think it matters. What people choose to identify themselves as sort of sets a foundation for how they want people to engage with their work. There's this aspect of how long does the storyteller engage to create. This is different if you have an assignment, if you have to get something done for somebody. We're talking about ideal situations when you really can engage with what's happening without a lot of outside constraints. I would imagine that the story has its own agency and sort of defines when it's finished and almost when it begins as well. When I was working on the story in Scandinavian Arctic with the family of Sami reindeer herders that I stayed with for 4 years, I remember people always asking me, like 1 year in, 2 year in, oh, like when is the story finished? And I really never knew. I was like, I just don't know. I don't have an answer. And I realized at the end of it, the story itself just expressed itself as being finished. It was like the things that I was seeking, the things that I needed to learn, and all of a sudden, like there's sort of this final answer or this final moment was sort of clear, and I was like, oh, it's finished. In that case, this is right 4 years of time. But I also think you can go and have an afternoon sitting down with somebody somewhere, and the story could be just that. Like, that's all it is. You don't need to know someone for 5 years, 20 years. You could have met them in that moment, instantaneously, and within an afternoon, the story has begun and end. And in one way, it could feel like a story that you've known for 100 years, but in one way, it's just of that moment. I think what we can acknowledge is that if you do have time, you're honoring certain stories by allowing time to be what it needs to be. But that doesn't mean that if you have a story that happens in 3 hours, it's less valuable. It's just what it is. I'm Erika Larsen, and I'm a storyteller. I use photography, video, words, listening, all as tools to engage in story, and I'm in Florida.